Please describe your job title and primary duties.
At Max and Erma's, I was a server, so my primary role was waiting tables for guests of the restaurant. I took orders and, as quickly as possible, served people their food in a friendly and efficient manner.
What was the work environment like?
I thought it was a fun work environment to be in. There were times where things got slow shortly after lunch, but then during dinner times, it was a fast-paced work environment where you had to keep up with constant rotation of tables and new guests who are arriving to the restaurant.
Please describe a typical day as an employee.
On a typical day, when I would come in, I would clock in, get my uniform on, and roll silverware to prepare for guests who are going to arrive. Then, as guests in my section of the restaurant would arrive, I'd take their orders. I'd enter their orders into a computer which would be given to the kitchen. The kitchen would prepare the food, and then I would go back to the kitchen to pick up the food, take it to the customers, and then repeat that process for dessert, and then provide the customers with their bill at the end of their meal. And then that would go on for as many guests as would arrive in my section until the end of my shift. At the end of my shift, I would count the money and separate the cash that I owed the restaurant from my tips that I had earned. And then I would do prep work for the next day by rolling silverware, in some cases doing cleaning work that just helped the restaurant overall.
What questions did the interviewer ask during the job interview?
There aren't any questions that stood out to me that caught me off guard. The manager who interviewed me was very flexible and dynamic in the questions, so he followed up on some of the things that I had said and was friendly. I just had to be prepared to explain if there was anything that was ambiguous about what I had said during the interview or about my previous work experience. I had to be ready to flesh it out with specific examples and anecdotes about how my work experience could be relevant to the restaurant I was about to work at.
What other advice would you give to a job seeker looking to get employment?
Be ready for a fast-paced restaurant environment. You're kind of on your own as a server in the sense that you're somewhat competing with your other servers for tips and for tables and for the attention of the cooks, making sure that your customers are getting the attention that's necessary for their food. So although there is an element of teamwork and camaraderie within the restaurant, there also is individuality. You have to be ready to stand up for yourself and to stand up for your particular section of tables and to defend yourself if there's some kind of mishap or miscommunication in the preparation of the food. Be ready for customers challenging your service in some way. That shouldn't happen often as long as you're doing your job well, but in the restaurant industry, oftentimes guests can be challenging.